Hey everyone, in today's video, I'll be showing you how I made this really cool and somewhat simple character animation in Blender. Let's get started. So for this model, I went ahead and selected the default cube, head over to my modifiers tab, clicked add modifier, and then I selected the subdivision surface modifier. And what this is going to do is make it so that it is a bit more smoothed out with more faces, so that it is more of a sphere, which is what we want for the head. And for this particular model, I was actually inspired by Keelan John's Astronaut model, and he actually made a really good, easy to follow tutorial on how to model it, which I highly suggest you watch. I'll leave this video linked in the description if you guys want to check it out. Next, I apply the subdivision modifier, press tab on my keyboard to go into edit mode, and then I press 3 so that I can select the faces. I selected these 4 faces on the front, which are going to be the face shield later on. And while this is selected, I pressed P to separate the selection, clicked selection, so that now they're both their own separate objects, which I can then edit on their own. After this, I went ahead and added a subdivision modifier to both. I then went ahead and added a solidify modifier, which is going to give it some nice thickness. Then, by pressing S, I scaled them both to my liking to give it a better shape. I also turned up the levels to 2 so it's more detailed and smoothed out. And finally, while in object mode, I right click on the object and hit shade smooth. Now those were just some of the tools I used throughout the modeling process, just so you guys have a better idea. And I'm also going to let you guys know that this is not an in-depth tutorial, but more of a rough overview of my entire process. Hey, before you click away, if you'd like me to show you more detailed tutorials on a specific part or section of this video that's more beginner friendly, feel free to let me know down in the comments and I'll be more than happy to make a video on it. Alright, so don't click away, please.
Work in the attic. Tell that boy I don't have it. Pass that bill like magic. Man, I'm about that magic. Cut that boy, he was lacking. Heard they caught him in traffic. I was out.
Alright, so here I'm just adding some final touches. As you can see, I've added some nice dirt textures, some smudges, just to give it a little bit more detail and uniqueness to better fit the scene which I'm going to create later on. I've also added scratches along the face shield and the rest of the body. And to make these tubes here is actually quite simple. All I did was select this object, press Shift S, then cursor to selected to make sure that the cursor was in the center of my object, so that when I press Shift A, then mesh, single vert, add single vert, so that this vertex point would be at the center of my object. Now to make my curve, all I do is press 1 in edit mode so that I'm able to select the vertex, then press E, then Z to extrude the point along the Z axis, then press E again, and then Y to extrude it along the Y axis. So now I have these 3 points. I select the middle one, then press Ctrl Shift B, so that when I scroll my mouse wheel up, I'm able to create these several points. Now to make this into an actual cable, I go into object mode, click object, convert, and then convert to curve. Now over in the object data properties panel, I scroll down and adjust the depth. Now to be able to actually adjust the overall look of the cable, you have to go over to object again, convert, and this time convert it to a mesh. Now you're able to edit it and add whichever material you wish. Now we can move on to modeling the rocket. For the top dome of the rocket, I start off by adding a sphere, cut it in half by deleting its vertices, and give it a better shape. Then for the middle section of the rocket, I add a torus shape and extrude its bottom vertices down by pressing E. And finally, for the bottom section of the rocket, I add a cylinder and create several loop cuts to adjust the shape however I want. I then added some more objects in order to add a bit more complexity. Most of this was done using simple shapes like cubes and spheres. And these creases or ridges that you see here were done using Boolean modifiers, which I won't cover in this video. And now that I'm done modeling it, I can give it a more finalized look by adding some final details and textures, which will give it that more realistic look. I'll be back with the final result. Alright, so I've added just a few minor details, like a metallic texture, a few colored stripes throughout the rocket, and a few more scratches and imperfections. I decided to keep it relatively simple. I didn't want to overcomplicate things. Since this rocket is primarily going to be used in the background, I didn't feel the need to add too many details. Now I can finally move on to creating the scene. Yay, so now I'm done, right? Right? No, I'm not done yet. Still gotta edit the video. The funnest part. No, but here's where I'll be adding all the visual effects, like particles, smoke. I'll be adjusting the colors a bit to my liking. Just make everything a lot more cohesive and visually appealing. But first, I'll have to record my own sound effects. First, I go outside and stare directly at the sun, touch some grass, and then walk around for a bit to capture some nice footstep sound effects. Then in After Effects, I drag my clips into the timeline. And for your editing software, I highly recommend literally anything else other than After Effects, especially if you want to do color correction and sound effects. But for me, After Effects got the job done. I don't know why I use that, honestly. So here I just added a few adjustment layers to add some artificial shake, lights, and adjusted the colors to make everything look a bit more dramatic. Now I'm finally done with my Blender animation. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you absolutely hated the video, feel free to also subscribe so I know that you hated it. You can also check me out on my other socials for more frequent posts. They'll be on screen and in the description below. And yeah, that'll be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.